Well, it's time for another debunking video. I know some of you are kind of torn on my format here, but I have to say, since I saw the light, since I've realized the error of my ways, some of my older review material, I realized I was leading people down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And I tell you, if there's one thing I learned from the New York Times, it's critical thinking, as we've been taught, is not enough to fight against disinformation. So it's best not to even go down the rabbit hole. But sometimes you might be faced with some difficult information, something that's difficult to debunk. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to give you the skills to do the hardcore takedowns of those conspiracy theorists that just won't go away. So one of the things that came up the other day, someone mentioned in one of the comments, I believe it was for an older review I had of Lynn Crook's book, they said that that was part of the satanic panic, that ritual abuse does not exist, it's not a thing, it's all made up. And they mentioned that when they were growing up, I think, or in the Portland area, that people were just making that up all the time. It's crazy therapists embedding that and so forth. And I will say, since I got my mind right, I have to agree. But first of all, what is ritual abuse? So the conspiracy theorists would have us believe that there are occult groups that, as part of their occult practice and part of brainwashing efforts, that they take children in their care, sometimes intergenerational, sometimes in a daycare setting, but they take the children and they're molesting them, but in a ritualized context, in a way that's used to brainwash the child or destroy their innocence in a way that is for a religious purpose. And that child abuse is bad enough, but when we start including this religious element into it, unless we're going after Catholic priests, this is very, very bad to say this, to say that this sort of thing could even happen. This multiple perpetrator, multiple offender kind of scenario needs to be debunked every time you see it. So I want to go over a couple of things that you want to watch out for. Unfortunately, the False Memory Syndrome Foundation has disbanded, but thankfully their work lives on, and thankfully most people don't Google their names, so that gets us around a lot of sticky issues there. But one of the things that typically you encounter is when in the really hardcore people digging into this is something called the Bishop Pace memo. And this was a memo that was leaked to the press back in the early 90s. And a few different groups got a hold of the original document and spread it out. And this document is exactly what it says, but we're going to get to the debunking part here in a minute, so don't fear not. So this was put out by Bishop Glenn L. Pace of the Mormon Church, and concerning this the subject is ritualistic child abuse, and this was to the Strengthening Church Members Committee, and this is from July 19th, 1990. And in this 12-page memo, he outlines how a lot of that ritual abuse was a massive problem in the Salt Lake City area and throughout Utah. And he lists the numbers of people he had personally counseled and how big of a problem this was and how the church needed to address this. And one of the problems was in the Mormon Church, which borrows liberally from the Freemason tradition, in a lot of their rituals. When a lot of people were participating in these rituals in the Mormon tabernacle, they were having flashbacks to their ritual abuse as children. And that was creating a lot of problems for the Mormon Church. So Bishop Pace is addressing that in this. He gives some specifics and talks about that also this extends up into Idaho, California, Mexico, and other places. And talks about people he's personally interviewed and that sort of thing. Now, yes, this does validate a lot of concerns. This would make one believe that maybe ritual abuse is in fact a real thing and a very real problem, and the Mormon Church was actually actively working to suppress it. But here's the takedown you're waiting for. when someone presents this as a gotcha kind of moment, point out that at the very top, it very clearly says, do not reproduce. So obviously, whoever leaked this can't follow simple directions. So can you really believe anything else after that? And you have to ask yourself, as somebody who tries my best to support the narrative, if somebody hands me something that says, do not reproduce, I'm obviously not supposed to read it. So right there, you got a problem. I'm reading somebody else's mail, essentially, and that's a problem. So right there, you can ignore it because we're not supposed to be reading it, and whoever passed this out shouldn't have. So we have somebody who can't follow simple directions passing out a memo that was very clearly intended for a specific confidential audience. So this is very much akin to the DNC email link, the email leak of 2016, where it's not so much that we look at what's in the memo, we look at who leaked it and the damage that was done by the leak, and that's what we need to be addressing. So again, this really isn't the point. The point is somebody leaked a memo they weren't supposed to be leaking, and that's what you need to focus on. So again, myth busted really, because again, true or not, we're really not supposed to be looking at it. And it's kind of like a court case. If we aren't even supposed to be looking at it, then we can't even consider it, and we shouldn't consider it as evidence. So, in my opinion, case closed. So anyway, I hope I provided you with some valuable tools there, again, for some hardcore takedowns. And again, on this channel, my goal is to help you take that truther that you work with, or that truther family member that you might have, and show them a thing or two about information warfare, and hit them with some hard truth and set them straight. Get them back on course with the narrative. Because one thing I've learned is following the narrative is a lot easier, and you can live a lot easier life. I've had a few people approach me through my channel, some authors of some of the books that I've reviewed on this channel, and one of them specifically told me that I seem to have a nice family life and I seem to be a nice guy, and I really needed to avoid these subjects because that could lead to problems. And this author was exactly right. So anyway, I've gotten my mind right, and just a nice reminder that I have set up a membership option for this channel. So if you want to help me with my war on disinformation, feel free to donate. I've got 3 different membership levels. You can join as an enabler, as an accessory, or an accomplice. If you want to help me fight all this crazy disinformation out there. And of course, I got a lot more content for members if you're more serious about that. But I don't want to put just anything out there, because some of the stuff in the member section could easily be misinterpreted, and people almost think I'm promoting some of that material. And obviously, I would never do that. So anyway, thanks for watching.